Hello, everyone. I'm Kenny Nyne, and I'm drinking Dr. Pepper at Moe's.
Hey,
This is Drinkin at Njpw, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's all so mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Moe's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
you know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Moe's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee, the, the exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee, and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome to Drinking a Mo's Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Because YouTube's algorithm continues to be a pain in my ass while I get my microphone situated here because the damn thing wants to. It's flimsy as hell. Anyways, we're on the audio platforms too, but today I'm excited to have with me another member of the Fantastic League of Wrestling roster. Somebody that has been recommended to me, like they didn't know that I was already in the process of scheduling with them. Kenny Nyne, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, sir.
Good to hear. Lots of great stuff going on in the world of wrestling right now.
Yeah,
I know
it's WrestleMania season. I'm
WrestleMania.
excited for everything that's coming, both
Oh,
independent and in the big leagues as well.
oh yeah. When it comes to WrestleMania week anymore, it's not just WWE. It's like, good lord, the amount of stuff for the independent scenes throughout the entire week. I know when WrestleMania was in Philadelphia, I have some friends that were involved in the independent scene up there at one promotion's venue. Literally every day, the entire week, sometimes multiple in a day. So it's awesome to see, and you know I know I'm excited, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But first thing, I like to start off with everybody when they first come on the show. What got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business?
So I was a very young fan. By the time I was 3 years old, I was watching with my family, my mom, my dad, my aunt, who would always order the pay-per-views back in the late 90s. I was watching King of the Ring 1998. No Foley versus Taker.
Nice,
And from then on, like every month, I was watching the pay-per-views at my aunt's. At
nice.
least all the way up until I turned 10 years old. And my family was like, I had the toys, I had it all. I even had the WCW bed sheets growing up.
Oh boy,
So I was really invested in wrestling from a very young age.
same.
So what made me decide to do the leap, because I even said that when I was younger, I wanted to be a wrestler. But it wasn't until I was 23 when I finally took the proper steps to make that leap.
Yeah,
I was living in Calumet Park, Illinois, and I had just attended All Out, AEW All Out. I had met Mick
nice.
Foley. I had went to Evolve 116, And I just said, you know what? It's my time. I'm going to go and go for it.
Hey,
And I started training under Just Amazing and KO Kendra in Dalton, which was not that far from me in Calumet Park.
hey.
My mom was not crazy about it, as
As I've
usual.
heard, some parents don't really, not too many I've heard are initially excited when their little ones tell them, hey, I'm doing it now.
Yeah, but I was determined. I was like, I tried everything the conventional way, but growing up, I never did anything conventionally. I was in an elementary school for the arts. I was in a high school in a music major program. I went away for school briefly. I went back home, did community college, and it just didn't click for me. But once I started pro wrestling, things started opening up even more for me than before.
Yeah.
And it took a while, but my mom didn't realize just how lucrative my career could be at first. And then I started experiencing other avenues and actually applying what I was raised doing since I was 5 years old, because I've been on a stage since I was five.
Yeah. No, people don't really realize how sometimes some of those avenues, like, being on different stages for acting, musicals, whatever it might be, a lot of those lessons that you learn when going through the steps in those avenues can definitely be applied to professional wrestling on whatever level that you're going into it at.
Yep, and I even told my mom before I even became an adult, like I was honest with her, like, Mom, I don't think I could be a paper pusher. I don't think I could be behind a desk for most of my life. So I was like, I'm either going to do something athletic or artistic. Fortunately for me, pro wrestling gives me the best of both worlds.
That it definitely does. There's a lot of artistry and putting together matches and some of the different maneuvers that you'd be pulling off. Like there's like, oh god, I think one of the, I guess, sub genres of wrestling that would definitely go along that line would be a lucha libre. Definitely with some of the the colorful masks and the different high flying maneuvers and the storytelling that goes into it. You know, it bleeds into other forms of wrestling, but yeah, no, pro wrestling can definitely be a great mix of both athletic and artistic for sure.
And speaking of the artistic, you've seen the jackets for the Fantastic League of Wrestling. I
That
mean, I am the artist behind them.
that I don't think I knew that before now, but yeah, you know what? Dang, you did a damn good job of them.
I
Definitely
mean,
did a damn good job.
I just applied what I was doing with gear to apply it to merchandise for the company. I also do it for myself as a talent as well.
Yeah,
And it's really like applying the arts that I was raised in since I was 5 years old into something I'm extremely passionate about.
that is awesome. That, and it definitely shows. You, like I said, you did a great job with those jackets, and it's another one of those avenues when you get going into making merch. That is one of the things that it definitely helps. Excuse me, just getting over allergy stuff, but it definitely helps. Another one of those, could be very lucrative, especially when you know if you're designing and you're printing all that stuff out yourself. You sit like, yes, it's handy to have the different stores out there to help you out with all that. But when you can do a good chunk of that yourself, man, saving up more money that you could be making from selling it at wherever you might end up being.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm greatly appreciative of Mr. Bullard for allowing me to flex my creative muscles, especially after he asked me to design three of Flo's championship belts as well.
Hey, and you know what? I had this in my notes to talk about, but since you brought it up, I'm not sure if you designed this one, but I saw the post about this new underground title that I'm like,
That wasn't my work.
that wasn't one of yours. Okay.
Okay.
But it was more along the lines of, yeah, I wanted to talk about that title looked impressive, but literally all of the Fantastic League of Wrestling championships look damn nice.
Yeah, so I designed the heavyweight title, I designed the trios title, and I designed what is called the High Rule title, which is a mid card title as well.
Okay.
But the tag team, the Double Dragon title, and the Underground Championship, that wasn't my work.
That wasn't your work. Okay. Because I knew that they had posted about that underground one, which I'm like, okay, that one looked nice. But yeah, literally, like I said, any of the Fantastic League of Wrestling titles look impressive. So that's even more awesome that you're getting to be behind those ones that you designed. And that's one, hell, shout out to Mr. Bullard there, because that's one thing that I've definitely gotten to know about him is he's definitely willing to give back and give people their opportunities to shine in whatever avenues that it might be, helping out. Oh shit, there we go.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, shit happens. But Mr. Bullard definitely, he has an eye for talent, and he has an eye for knowing when people can help out in other avenues, which you just said he's definitely done that with you.
I agree. And I love the tag team I'm in with Gran Truino as well, Cyberstorm, and at some point we have to go to Japan bring Cyberstorm to Japan.
I would definitely agree. Just thinking about, I've heard of, a lot of different unique tag team names in Japan. Cyberstorm just seems like it would fit.
And the irony is, we did not come up with the name. I honestly couldn't even tell you who came up with it, but I was like, "Hey, it sounds cool," and I even designed our gear for the upcoming show.
Nice.
And my partner already purchased it. I was like, "Wait, I just showed it to you."
That is funny. And you know what? Before we get into a little of that, I did want to talk about, for one of the things that I have loved to do with the show is when I'm talking to people and letting others that will end up listening to the episode know a little bit about other people, but in this instance know about you, that so when they're tuning in, they get to know, what is Kenny Nyne like in the ring? What can they expect when they come, or they come to a show either live in person or they're streaming online, wherever it might be?
Kenny Nyne in the ring, Kenny Nyne outside of the ring is just bright and colorful,
Yeah, I've definitely got to witness a little of that myself, which
I mean, everyone, like the kids love the glasses. I often pull the tribute to Bret Hart taking my glasses off and giving them to a kid in the audience.
I like that.
And every show, at least most shows with Flow, I tend to sell out of the glasses.
I was gonna say, especially when wrestling, especially for the little kids, it's all about those moments. Those moments that people can look at and be like, I remember being a little kid and going to my first ever pro wrestling show, which happened to be a WWF show, and I got to see one of my favorites growing up, Big Boss Man.
Oh man, that's a
And,
name.
and seeing him go up against Yokozuna, and I was like main floor, maybe I'd say no more than 10 rows away from the ring, very short distance to the entrance. And I was a little third grader, and here I am seeing Big Boss Man walking by me. And then coming out shortly after, I'm seeing that big dude, Yokozuna, walking by me. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, just those moments. And so when you know, like Bret Hart giving those glasses to the fans, you know, I could definitely see some little kids being like, their dad takes them to the show and like, oh man, Dad, I want some of those. So they get to go to the merch stand and
Yep, that's exactly how it goes, especially at the Indiana Beach shows.
you know
And
what? Yeah, I was gonna say that would be one of the spots I think would definitely do great with those.
oh man, last year alone, the second Indiana Beach show, I left with over $500 just alone off of the glasses. And I
Wow.
ran out. And then come the Flow show this past couple of weeks, one of the kids that missed out, one of the things his mom did, first thing, buy a pair of the glasses.
That makes perfect sense. Like I knew as soon as you mentioned that, and like having seen footage of matches and seeing you coming out with those glasses, I like I knew it right when like seeing you give some of those, and I could just see other kids in the audience just being like, "Man, I want those."
I mean, at some shows, I literally got messaged personally by fans asking, "Do you have the glasses? Are you gonna break them?" I was like, "Of course." And this is Midwest Championship Wrestling in Ohio.
Mm.
I'm still in Chicago, and literally like the week of the show, I'm being messaged about the glasses, and I'm like, "Yes, I am definitely bringing them."
That is awesome.
So I'm glad they're a hit.
Yeah, you know what? I had that feeling they would be. But now, going back to your team with Gran Torino, I I remember like that just seemed like a great team, but then going back to the season debut that just recently, as of this recording happened, you guys winning the number one contendership to the tag titles.
Yes. Yeah.
That I'm loving it. I'm loving it. What was that like for you? Because I know, you know, it's one thing, a great nod from a company to put a title onto somebody, but it's definitely another one of those nods when, a promotion wants to put you in the spot to even potentially get those.
Yeah, and it's such a huge honor. And Truino and I, even though there's a bit of an age gap, we actually connected on the same wavelength. And how Truino and I actually first met, we ended up wrestling each other 3 times in one day.
Oh, really?
Yes, like 2 weeks before we met in a fatal four way at Flow.
Okay.
And this was in Michigan at a baseball fundraiser. So he won the first match. I won the second match. We drew. We had a draw the third match, and I think the fans in that audience liked us so much that because we even ended with the sportsman-like hug at the end of the third match, and the and in the four-way, I got hit with the Spanish fly again. I got caught with the drop kick, but I did a dive on him. We just have a lot of mutual respect. It's so much fun being in the ring with him. But teaming with him, we were on such the same wavelength for our first time ever tagging. We did a simultaneous dive that was so in sync that people actually thought we rehearsed that. We didn't.
It just happened.
Yep, it just happened.
That is, you know what? It is funny how sometimes people that have, been opponents, handful of times can end up becoming great tag partners. Like I can remember, I guess, an example that a lot of people might be able to remember from more somewhat recently with I mean he goes by back by Claudio now, but Cesaro and Sheamus when they had that series where like they were, back and forth and then they became the Bar.
Yeah, and then there's also AJ and Chris Daniels.
That, yes, that would be another perfect example.
Yep. I mean, it's funny when you finally meet on the same wavelength with someone you've been across the ring from so many times. It's almost magic when you guys join forces.
That, you know what it is, when you have people that in a different way have developed that chemistry because there's still, you know, a singles match, you still have to have that chemistry with the person to, have a match just really, pardon the pun, flow together. But, you already have a little bit of advantage because you already have that chemistry from being singles opponents to now tagging together. It can make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, we watched our dive back and they were like, "You sure you guys never tagged before?" And I was like, "No, we've been opponents multiple times more than we tagged."
That is funny. That is funny. But yeah,
But
that is awesome.
we the only thing we actually coordinated was our outfits for that show.
Okay. Okay.
And now we're doing the matching attire. We're actually a unified front and um we're just ready to basically take over Chicago because
Okay.
even though he's not Chicago, but we like I've designed stuff for the both of us to represent both of our cities as well.
Okay.
But because the next show is Chicago, we're doing the Chicago Bulls themed gear.
I like it. I like it.
And Cyberstorm, we're trying to come home with those tag titles.
Oh, so that match, that number one contendership, that's happening at the what is it, May 31st show?
Yep, that's what Mr. Bullard has told us, and
Awesome.
we're doing we're going all Chicago for it.
Hey, I like it. And that match in particular, well, that whole show, definitely something for a good cause, for Special Olympics, and definitely something, you're going home.
Yep,
And
I literally put a post up as soon as the poster came out that hey Chicago, I'm coming home. I'm trying to win gold for the first time in my career.
hey, I'm I'm confident that you two will get it done. I know uh Gran Torino's on little bit of an excursion over to Japan right now.
Yeah, and I'm cheering for him all the way back, all the way to Japan. I mean, I've been studying Japanese, and I even showed him how to write Cyberstorm in kanji as well.
Nice.
And I'm rooting for him all the way. Him and Zach Abstract as well.
Yeah, I I've already released the Gran Torino episode. I'm actually in the process of putting together the Zach Abstract episode. So it's was definitely fun getting to talk to the both of them before they make the trip over there. So definitely shout out to both of them. Definitely rooting for the both of them, and safe travels and everything. But I'm liking going back to May 31st. Something that I've definitely gotten the impression of with son getting a little fussy on me here, but a thing that I've gotten to get the impression of with Mr. Bullard is he's definitely wanting to give back. Like wrestling has given him so much, he wants to give back to it, and this perfect example of doing just that.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to, I know that they are releasing footage from shows in like kind of an episodic manner from what I was getting the impression of. So I'm definitely looking forward to when everything comes out for each episode. Well, each show. I know May 31st, looking forward to that one. And also, we brought up Indiana Beach, June 7th. I believe there's actually going to be two shows from there this year. June 7th is going to be the first one. Two roller coasters are better than one.
I agree. And I actually suggested that we film promos from the roller coasters a bit. And
That would be awesome.
yep, I'm literally so down to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and like we literally had a lot of fun at Indiana Beach last year, and I told everyone, let's just walk around the park in our gear and literally hype everyone up for the show.
That
And
makes perfect sense.
then the last show, we had so many people show up that we had to get stairs. We had to get chairs from the bar upstairs so much. Like I'm
Nice. Like I remember Mr. Bullard when he told me, I believe it was the first show there where I'm spacing off on whether it was him or a ring announcer that asked if who all that was there was that their first ever pro wrestling show. And the amount of people
yep,
that raised their
Christian.
hands.
Yep, Christian asked that question. I remember that loud. I remember that completely.
And I'm like, that right there goes back to, when I talked about pro wrestling being about moments, especially for the little ones. That right there, getting to be somebody's first taste of pro wrestling, and you give them a great show, which it sounds very much so that you guys did that.
Yep. I
Man,
mean, I remember the first match, and I actually dressed like Mega Man for that show.
I love it. Love
And
it.
that's actually the inspiration for my character. I'm a big Mega Man X fan. So the gear I wore at the very first Indiana Beach show was based on on X from Mega Man X.
Okay.
And the last Flow show, I was wearing my Zero gear from Mega Man X.
Okay.
And it's like the design of the gear is so identical to the character. Like if you look closely on the shoulder of my vest, I actually have my Nyne logo where Zero usually has a Z on his shoulder. Just little
Uh,
subtle nods to characters that I like to do with my gear.
I like it. I like it. I get. Yeah, I guess I hadn't paid that close attention to notice that little detail, but that's pretty damn clever. Now, something that I am trying to do, well, I try to get my son here to calm down a little bit, is what is a message that you have for the rest of the Fantastic League of Wrestling roster for this
Hey,
season?
hey, this season it's a new changing of the guard. The Vanguard will be on top.
Like it, like
So so Truino and I we're gonna be looking for a Trash Panda, and then the Vanguard will be whole once again.
I like it. I like it. All right, now same thing, but a message that you have for the fans of Fantastic League of Wrestling.
Hey, Cyberpunk, the Storm, the Trash Panda, even the Party Island. We're your heroes, and we give you everything to look forward to.
Like it. All right. Now I have two categories here. First one, bit of a name game where I name off some people. You give me some quick thoughts on them. And, I noticed, like, I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And, you know, this one is kind of a little bit of a mix where I know at least I saw listed, hometown Chicago, but I also saw a connection with Missouri. I believe that's where you're, like, Columbia, Missouri right now.
Yeah, yeah, I went to the University of Missouri.
Okay. Yeah, we former Big 12 rivals with me being from Nebraska right now. So
Yeah,
I get it. So,
they they were SEC when I went.
oh, I know. Yeah, I know now. Yeah, they've been down there for, God dang, how long now? I'm forgetting. But each of these people in this category, this name game, has a connection to either Missouri or Chicago. First one with, that being said, I think if I had a name game with people with a connection to Chicago and I did not mention this person, I think you might know where I'm going with this. Some people would wonder, what the heck am I thinking? CM Punk.
Yeah, Chicago, Bridgeport native.
Yeah. And, he definitely, it, when I think of somebody that's provided those moments or that connection with fans, as much as there some people love him or hate him, some people might hate him, but man, somebody that has just developed that connection with fans, that no matter how long he's been away, you'll still hear, like,
Yeah.
hell, before he debuted in AEW, before everything fell apart, there were, like, it would be hard pressed to find a Chicago wrestling show.
Without a CM Punk chant.
Yep, exactly. Now, next up, a guy, Missouri connection, Randy Orton.
Yep, St. Louis native.
Yep. I I'll admit, some of the issues that I've had with Randy Orton have been kind of, outside of wrestling stuff. Like, the story's been out there about how he got kicked out of the military, out of the Marines. And, being a veteran myself, and that's how everything happened, kind of rubbed me the wrong way for a while. But when you hear the stories about, how he is with his fans, or everything that he's been able to accomplish in the ring, and how he is strictly based off of in-ring stuff, there's a reason he's been one of the top guys for as long as he has been.
Yeah, and Randy is one of the guys I respect, and the fact that he wasn't really acting early on in his career, I think that's part of the charm that got him over even as a heel. But once he matured and turned that switch, it became even more appreciative.
Oh yeah, I can definitely agree with you there. Now, I guess this next guy, I don't know why I forgot he had a Chicago connection. One of the Street Profits, Montez Ford.
Oh, Montez. So, fun fact, Montez Ford and I actually have the same first and last name.
No kidding.
Yep, his name is Kenneth Crawford. My shoot name is Kenneth Crawford. And we're both from Chicago. And I'm like, what are the odds?
That wow. Wow, that is something.
And ironically, when I went to that Evolve show, he and Angelo Dawkins were defending the NXT championships against the Skulk, Adrian Alanis and Liam Gray.
Okay.
So I was actually present in the crowd for that performance.
Nice. I I'm always kind of a little bit jealous when people mention to me that they've been to different pay-per-view PLEs, whatever the hell you want to call them, because as of right now, I have yet to attend any of those. I've attended plenty of like televised shows, like the last AEW Dynamite that was here in Omaha. You know, the story about the big blizzard, and then
Yeah.
the infamous Moxley Copeland street fight with the nail board.
Yeah, I already got. Yeah. So everyone was not comfortable with that.
Yeah, imagine I was third row, right, like a seat away from the entrance for that. That happened literally right in front of me.
Mm.
Like the I've been told that they didn't really show too much of when they were like physically trying to pull that out of him.
They showed enough on television.
You know, though, just imagine where I was, where you saw every like this the skin literally pulling away from him. Like,
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, yeah, even my wife was with me when I saw it. I was like, yeah, I'll turn the channel. I already knew how she'd react, and I was like, yeah, I don't think that was supposed to happen that way.
yeah, like normally when you see that because that board has been used in multiple matches, you normally don't see somebody getting suplexed directly onto the nail part of it.
Yeah, I was like, that. I don't think that was the plan.
Yeah, I don't think that was a plan either. I I I I mean, at least I would like to think that it wasn't. I can't say for certain,
Neither
but
can I, but
Lord knows Moxley is one intense, crazy individual. Not saying that as an insult. I love those intense personas, but man, there'd even be me where I'd be like, I'd be willing to do a lot, but that I don't know.
yeah, that's why I have a clause in my contract, at least with my wife. She will divorce me if I do anything like that.
Yep, I know my wife would be right up there with her on that for myself. All right.
So I have a legit limit on what I can and can't do with wrestling, thanks to my wife.
No, I can understand that. All right, now last but not least on this name game category, we haven't seen her for a little bit. But if you ask me, one of the more underrated members of the AEW women's roster, Sky Blue.
Ah, yes. I'm familiar with her trainers as well. They frequent Berwyn as well, and I've been around Sky Blue in locker rooms as well too. She's wrestled my trainer as well. So yeah, I have respect for her as I do anyone coming from my hometown.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely. Whenever I hear from somebody coming from at least my general area, I'm always like, "Oh, hey, I might not live in that town, but hey, I've been through there at least."
Yeah.
The
And
little connection.
yeah, and I keep telling people I'm about as Chicago as it gets. I'm from Cabrini Green. So the buildings that you see in the opening of Good Times, my family lived in those buildings.
No kidding.
And growing up, I legitimately lived a block away from Chicago Avenue. So I was really in the heart of Chicago growing up. So
Okay,
that's why I keep saying I'm about as Chicago as it gets.
I gotcha. All right, now some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. Some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far.
All right.
So I give you the question, first answer that pops into your head. Now, this first one, I know that we just talked about. You have kind of a limit on what you're able to do in wrestling. So, but there's still some stuff that I imagine could fit into this question. Craziest in match moment for you?
Well, so far, the craziest in match moment that I've had was actually in a six-way ladder match, but I actually call it a step ladder match because we did not use an actual ladder. And jumping off the step ladder to the top rope to somersault onto a crowd of people.
Yeah, that would fit. That would fit. Oh, oh no. See, yeah, my son even's thinking that's crazy. He's I love him a bit. But anyways, yeah, that would definitely fit. I've witnessed my fair share of crazy ladder match moments. One that I love to talk about whenever crazy ladder match moments come up is the guy that I actually made him the best man at my wedding, but he was in a match, like kind of the promotion's version of the Money in the Bank ladder match, although they can't obviously call it that. But they had a ladder bridge between the ring post and the guardrail. And I see him up with a guy on his back, kind of like Sheamus and the White Noise, where like the head's down here, his legs are up here.
Oh, I can think
And
I
I
can for
see
that
I
now.
see him I see him look over at the ladder, and I'm on the other side of the ring from this. I just see him look down, and then he jumps, and the ladder folds, and like him and the guy that he had on his back both disappeared on the other side of the ring. I'm like, ow.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely been there for quite a few. Now we have talked about, as of this recording, we're in the middle. Well, not really the middle. We're at the start of WrestleMania week. Everybody that's a fan of professional wrestling has some of those WrestleMania moments that just stick out in their head as favorites of theirs. What is a favorite WrestleMania moment for you?
I still have to say it's Kofi Mania.
That was epic. That definitely was epic.
Mainly because if anything, it just reaffirmed that someone like me can make it to the pinnacle. And for someone like him to be from Ghana, West Africa, too. I'm also a third generation Jamaican as well.
Okay.
So naturally when Kofi Kingston was introduced as a Jamaican, I gravitated to him. But now I hate that they had him over dramatize my culture, but it was refreshing to see someone, representing where I'm from
Yeah.
on such a grand scale,
Oh
even
yeah.
though he wasn't really from there.
No, I can understand that. When you know when those parts of the world that haven't really had that representation on a big platform like that, when you finally get that and it's you know displayed on a you know one of the center stories of center characters that he was and still is, it's pretty awesome. I can imagine that. And the way that happened, to where it was like the fan, like much like the fans kind of pushed for the Brian Danielson, however you want to refer to him as, when they pushed for that, and then they very much pushed for Kofi Kingston the way that they did, and got helped kind of push him to, not that he didn't already deserve it without the fans pushing even more for him, but the fact that everybody was getting behind him the way that they were, and then him getting the win on. There's a reason that they call WrestleMania the grandest stage of them all, and that he got a big win like that. Yeah, no, that is definitely a great moment. I know for me, being the big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan that I am, the interaction that him and Kevin Owens had a couple years ago, that was epic for me. Um, I know the first ever pay per view I actually got to watch as it was happening was actually WrestleMania 20. So that whole show was something special for me, anyways.
I completely understand. And I'm showing my age a bit here, but when I saw WrestleMania 20, I was 8 going on 9.
Okay. And I mean, showing my age a little bit, what, crap, I'm even forgetting. I was in my early 20s, I know, because I know I was legal to drink beer because my I was going through college at the time, and we were in a sports and entertainment marketing class, and we were in a big group project, and it happened to be around WrestleMania time. And I had to meet up with somebody from the group to, give them my portion of, you know, the project. And he was like, "Hey, WrestleMania, you want to just meet up with me at Hooters and go watch WrestleMania?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And that happened. That's how I got into watching my first ever pay per view as it was happening. Because before that, again, maybe dating myself a little bit, but this was back when, uh, if you knew what channel, you could get like a kind of a grainy, you know, kind of
Channel 3
distorted,
or Channel 4. Channel 3. Yep.
where, yeah,
I keep telling people, despite being born in the mid 90s, I am a 90s kid. And despite only being 29, I still know what a VCR and a VHS cassette is.
oh yeah, no,
Now, when I talked to Grant Torino at the show about like the wrestling I grew up on, he's like, "What?" And then I realized he's only 21.
Oh
well,
yeah.
about to be 21. I was like, dang, I can't relate because he's almost 10 years younger than me, and so he wasn't around when WCW was still here.
Oh
He
yeah.
wasn't there for all of it. I was like,
Oh yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So
The
because in my youth, I used to come home from preschool with my dad and watch WCW from 1999, even though it wasn't the greatest. But I still have vivid memories of Hogan versus Flair in a barbed wire steel cage.
Oh yeah, yep. I definitely have memories of that myself. Back, yeah, those days of WCW aren't so much fondly looked upon by a lot of people, but hey, wrestling is about those moments, and when you have somebody like Hogan and Flair in a cage with barbed wire wrapped around the top, that's still something pretty like whoa.
And not only that, but from that card, my favorite match from that card was the tag team match, the tag team lumberjack match between Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko against Kurt Hennig and Barry Windham.
Ah, the West Texas Rednecks.
They weren't calling themselves that yet,
Oh,
but
that was before they were even known as that. Okay.
yeah, but Benoit and Malenko were part of the Horsemen at this time. So, and it was for the tag WCW tag titles. So it was really just a technical masterclass with lumberjacks with straps.
Oh yeah, gotta let. I mean, lumberjack matches can already lead to some entertaining stuff, but then you put those straps in there like that. Yeah. Yep. That. Oh
And
wow. Yep. Nope. I love it. All right, now I'm sure you can see behind me some of my hobbies here. What is a hobby you have outside of wrestling? If anything, because I know wrestling can take up a lot of time.
I'm still an avid comic book collector, and
Okay.
my holy grail comics are the Justice League Young Justice Graduation Day arc. And I have all three issues of that miniseries because it leads straight into the 2003 Jeff Johns Teen Titans.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I have a literal bookshelf full of comic books, and I told my wife one day I'm gonna turn one of the rooms in the house into literally the wrestling figure cave and the comic book cave just because I am that avid of a collector.
Oh yeah. Nope. I can relate more on the wrestling figure side of things. I've up you can't really see it up top too much, but like all of my signed figures from people like Hangman Page, Lance Archer, Jeff Cobb. I got I got Cruel. I got Kushida. A whole bunch of people.
So my biggest signed figure is actually a Bianca Belair.
No, that's awesome. That's one that I've not met in person yet. And Trent, hey, yeah, you're fine. All right, yeah, but I mean, I do have Drew McIntyre, and I got one. Well, I got two signed from this person. I got one of the Matt Cardona Super Sevens. I got one.
Ah,
I got that one signed, and then I got one of the Major Bendhams. I got one of his, both signed. I met him at Sammy Callahan's promotion Revolver.
yep, I'm actually close with one of the referees from Revolver.
Nice. That's where most of mine have come from. Although when it comes to comic books, I do have a few where I've gotten into a little bit, but uh, growing up, it was always pro wrestling and Ninja Turtles for me.
Oh, don't even go there with me. So even though I'm young, I watched the old 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm.
I grew up on the 2003 Ninja Turtles series, and then after that, I just stopped watching because they kept rebooting it every few
Mm.
years, and it didn't leave a lasting impression on me long enough
Mm.
for me to get deeply into it.
Oh yeah,
And I think Nickelodeon owns somewhat of the property
they
now,
do. Yeah,
and they're on their what, fourth Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. But growing up, yeah, I grew up on the original cartoon, and actually, not comic books related. I do have the hard copy that's like the entire Last Ronin story. I have that, and then I have a copy of the Ninja Turtle comic that was the first appearance of Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady. But I do have a couple Ninja Turtle items that I'll never be getting rid of these. But speaking of that original cartoon, I have actually met the voice of Michelangelo from it. And I actually have Funko Pop signed by him.
That is awesome. I mean, I wish I could have met um James himself, the voice of Shredder, and
Oh,
of course Uncle Phil, James
oh
Avery.
yeah, that
Yeah,
that would have
James
been
Avery.
epic.
Because I still look at him as the quintessential TV dad,
Mm.
and to this day, like, I can't it's hard for me to imagine someone else voicing the Shredder besides him.
Oh, most definitely. Although you brought up Splinter, those 90s movies, those first couple,
Yeah,
the guy Kevin Clash, the guy behind Splinter,
you gotta be kidding me.
he even asked me when writing the little extra thing on top. He was like, "Do you want Cowabunga or the like where he I forget. I think it was in both of the first two where he was like, ha ha ha, I made a funny."
Yeah,
So he was like,
yep,
"You want Cowabunga or I made a funny?" I'm like, "Dude, I made a funny." So yep,
yep. That's
right
that is
above
literally
Splinter.
that is literally the quintessential Master Splinter line.
Oh yeah, and it's literally right above Splinter. I made a funny.
And people don't even remember the Casey Jones quotes either.
No, dude, he had some epic. I can't remember. Words are hard. Specifically, some of them right now, but I do remember that those first two movies, man. Yeah, he had some epic ones.
Like, ooh, who's the babe?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize just how much, like, I grew up just being a total nerd, but I was kind of the artsy nerd athletic type, so you couldn't just put me in one box.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nope, I get you there. But yeah, nope. A lot of my collection behind me here is either wrestling related. I do have some sports stuff for my teams, but it's either mostly wrestling related or Ninja Turtles. Like I got some of the original, uh, some of my original figures loose there. Up here, I have I have all but two of the Universal Monster mashups from NECA. I'm missing Donatello as Invisible Man and Splinter as Van Helsing. The only two I do not have.
And I am a avid figure hunter too. Right now, because I also look to old, like, classic wrestlers' gears as
Mm-hmm.
inspiration for some of my gear designs.
Oh yeah.
And one gear that I'm trying to make for myself, because I'm a big time Macho Man Randy Savage fan as
Yeah.
well, and it's literally modeling my gear after his WrestleMania 7 attire.
Okay. Okay.
That is
That
why I'm literally been hunting the defining moments WrestleMania 7 Randy Savage action figure.
nice. I do. I have been hunting a couple figures down, and I actually found one of them. Well, not a specific one, but Bam Bam Bigelow, one of my other favorite wrestlers. The
Uh,
only the only figures that I take out of the box are actually for the ones that have passed away. So like I have one of those ring play sets that I have up in the middle up here, and all my figures for people that have passed on, from like Andre the Giant, uh, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Sid Vicious. I have the Road
uh,
Warriors up there. Like I've been searching for a Bam Bam Bigelow and a Bray Wyatt one, and I finally found. I believe it was the Monday Night Wars Elite Bam Bam Bigelow one. So I'm like,
so crazy enough, one time my wife and I went to Walmart and we got lucky and got one of those ultimate figures, with the multiple heads and multiple hands. We got a Razor Ramon action figure, but it was a chase.
ooh,
So it was the purple attire, which is a chase variant.
okay.
And I told her, you have no idea how much this, because first of all, I could tell they didn't know what they had on hand because we got it for less than $20. And when I told my wife how much this figure is actually worth, I actually pulled up the figure appraisal site and I was like, "Hun, you don't understand. When you find a chase action figure, the value goes way up."
Mm-hmm.
And then when she saw it, her jaw dropped, and I was like, "Yeah." And we just literally walked out of Walmart with it.
Hey, can't blame you there. I know I haven't lucked out too much on chase figures. I do, I got some special edition ones, like, oh, one of my personal favorites, the 1 in 3,000 bloody Eddie Kingston with the gas can and everything.
Yeah.
So I got some good ones. I'm proud of what I got.
Yeah, so am I. And I just had, and someone, I don't know, I still to this day don't know who, but they gifted me a Johnny Gargano elite action figure from Takeover Ontario where he wore the Wolverine outfit.
Okay, not.
And I still don't know who sent it to this day. And anyone who knows me, I modeled my attire a lot after Johnny Gargano. And one of my biggest claims is on Twitter, I posted a design that I actually showed Johnny Gargano and the artist behind his gear of a mashup of Wolverine and Deadpool shortly after the movie came out for him and
Ooh,
Champa.
nice, nice.
And he actually liked it and responded, and I was like, wow, that's did it, if that isn't really a testament to talent or like high praise from someone I look up to, I don't know what is.
You know what? Before we get on to my last couple of questions here, you brought up, okay, I get on some tangents every once in a while, but you brought up a story that I I tell every once in a while, but it fits right here. I once had former Ring of Honor 6-man tag champ Dutch on, and not really realizing who were some of his friends at the time. Well, I forget if it was either I posted about having recorded with him or if it was the actual post about having released the episode. But I I remember being on my way home from work. I get a Twitter alert. I don't really recognize the little picture that pops up with it for the person's profile picture. So I'm like, oh, I'll check it when I get to a red light. Well, I do that, and I about dropped my phone because it was Bray Wyatt liking the thing about the episode with Dutch. So I literally, as soon as I could, I messaged Dutch and I'm like, "Are you friends with Bray Wyatt?" And it was like, "Oh yeah," and said the whole, told me all about it. I'm like, that explains so much right now. But to have that little acknowledgement for my little show from a guy of the stature of Bray Wyatt, I was like, oh my, like I said, I about dropped my damn phone. Okay, come on. There we go. All right. So, the last couple of questions here. Favorite drink for you? Because I know we mentioned about not drinking because, like I mentioned to you before we recorded, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean that that drink has to be alcoholic. Because hell, I know we've both been drinking Dr. Peppers this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big Dr. Pepper lover. And I'm not a fan of the blackberry Dr. Pepper, but
It's different, yeah.
yeah, but I like the cream soda. The strawberry and cream is all right. I like the regular, and I love the cherry.
Ah, yeah. Like I mentioned, I had to kind of switch to the zero sugar stuff, but yeah, I mean, you can't beat the original. But then I'm a big fan of the cream soda one too. Like if I'm
Mhm.
getting a full regular one, more often than not, if it's at like a gas station, I'm picking up the cream soda one.
Yep.
Uh,
And when my wife and I go grocery shopping, that's actually the only Dr. Pepper she'll drink.
oh yeah,
She doesn't really like Dr. Pepper like that, but she'll drink the Dr. Pepper cream soda.
hey, nothing wrong with that. I know that's one of my absolute favorites. But yeah, my wife says I'm a Dr. Pepper fiend, and I'm like,
Yep.
as long as I got some, it ain't a problem. It's all figured out.
And one of the things is like my wife will refuse to get it while we're out grocery shopping, but little does she know that I have a canteen at my shoot job and it's always supplied with Dr. Pepper.
Nice. Oh, you know what? Funny thing, my wife is the exact opposite. If I'm actually out with her when we're grocery shopping at Costco or wherever, she'll be like, "Do you need more? Like how? Like are you about out?" And if I am, I'm like, "Okay, go get it." Yeah.
Hey,
Hey,
it's like they say, men are simple creatures.
exactly, man. When that because you hear about people like I know at least for me, you know, when you hear about people being complicated, which I mean there are people out there that are complicated. Me, I'm very simple. Feed me, have a steady supply of Dr. Pepper on hand, and I'm freaking good.
Yep, pretty much. But I'm the main person who cooks in the house, so
Well, it's the exact opposite here. My wife is more the cook. I mean, she's a much better cook than I am. Although, in my defense, before her, the the extent of the stuff that I could cook that wouldn't turn out like crap was probably a hamburger helper out of the box. My menu of stuff that I can cook that will actually turn out halfway decent has greatly expanded since meeting her.
well, I mean, I was taught to cook since I was 8. So I literally had no excuse.
Mm,
And my wife greatly appreciates the fact that I know how to cook to the extent that I do, because with her job, I'm literally the main one who prepares everything, especially after her job is being so draining. And
Oh, yeah.
I literally just made orange chicken.
Nope, I can get you there because yeah, when you have a job that can be draining, it is nice to know that you don't have to worry about what's for dinner when you get home.
Mhm.
Like you have somebody that can actually cook and like I used to joke back before my well, even somewhat now, when before my the extent of what I could cook expanded, I would always say, yeah, most of the stuff I cooked, it all turned out the same in the end, all tasting like crap. So I just but now, yeah, I've definitely grown with like thinking marinades when grilling stuff. I've
Mm.
I've been all I've experimented with a lot. I found out some of my favorites, and I need to get I need to get back into that because I had a lot of fun with that.
You marinated with Dr. Pepper yet?
I have not, but I have heard that
Do it.
I need
Trust me on this.
I'm I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
If
Definitely.
if you don't and if you marinate anything with Dr. Pepper, you have to do it with ribs.
I have heard about barbecue ribs and marinated with Dr. Pepper. I've heard that it turns out quite delicious.
Yep. You wouldn't want ribs any other way after that.
I'm I'm gonna have to give that a shot. I'm gonna have to give that a shot. All right. Now, last but not least, here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Play a contact sport before you start wrestling training.
I can, I,
Now, with me, I did karate, I did amateur wrestling, and I did football. So my body took a beating before I ever got into a ring.
mm,
But I've literally come across people who had stepped into the ring for the first time and felt that it wasn't a trampoline like some people think,
yeah,
and said, I didn't think it was gonna hurt before, or I thought this was fake. And I'm like, no man, you
no,
nah.
oh yeah. I've gotten a little taste here and there. There was back a handful of years ago. There was a pro wrestling boot camp before a show that was conveniently enough at the a convention center that was attached to the same hotel I was put in the night before I left for Navy boot camp. So I got the hugest laugh walking in there, like, haha, I left here going to one boot camp. Now I'm going back here going to another one. But I'm kidding you. I found out pretty dang quick that even in that little taste, that ring is not a damn trampoline. Like even that little taste that I got, it I was walking funny for about a week.
And that's why I still catch a bit of agitation when people call pro wrestling fake.
Yeah,
Fake,
yeah,
and I'm like, yes, the result is predetermined, but you don't know everything that goes into a match. You
oh
don't
yeah,
know what goes on within the ring. You don't even have a fundamental understanding.
yeah,
But because you know it's an act, you just dismiss it as fake.
yeah, oh yeah,
When you, but when you see the scars that me and my contemporaries have on our bodies, what's fake about that?
Oh yeah. Nope. I am definitely with you there. It's one of those things that I've heard that argument before. That it's like, yeah, the person said that they prefer the term predetermined because yeah, outcomes might be predetermined, but the damage that you guys take to get to that spot, that predetermined outcome, yeah, they're hard, very hard to fake any of that.
And then they don't understand that even if it is predetermined, there's also the slight chance that the predetermined outcome does not come to fruition.
Exactly. Yep. A lot could happen during the match to kind of make you guys have to call an audible.
And still people love to dismiss it. And because that was one of the first things that I was told that people love to throw into my face as a kid, like, hey, that's fake.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm like, okay. Do you still not understand that it takes a great level of athleticism and talent to be able to do what even a fraction of what they do every week?
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree with you 100%. I've definitely, growing up, had those statements made to me myself. But all right. That is about all I have. But before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
So my Instagram is at Kenny9, and that's Nyne, all one word. And my Facebook is Kenny9. Same thing for my X account as well, and on my TikTok.
All right. We'll get all of that in the description. That is about all I have. Thank you so
And
much.
catch me tomorrow evening on MMA Crossfire on YouTube.
Definitely. Definitely. That is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. It was an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, sir, and I'd be happy to return.
All right. See that issue I had with the damn button again.